Hello, this is Robert Bombase, producer of Dogs That Protect. I'd like to make a few comments before the second part of our program begins. Some canine experts may disagree with the 20 breeds selected for this program. Certainly, there are other breeds capable of making the list.
Good boy!
Selection of the breed, however, is really only part of the process. The other part of the process is the time and training you are willing to put into your dog. One point I feel needs to be made again is pet shops. Stay away. Words like AKC registered and vet check mean absolutely nothing. When you purchase a pet shop dog, you continue to support a money-making system that encourages cruelty and abuse to puppy mill breeding dogs and their offspring. Many first-time dog owners purchase a dog on a whim. They may have trouble controlling the dog or lose interest in it, and it then gets relegated to a doghouse chained in the backyard. A dog, being a pack animal to maintain his social sanity, must have other dogs around him or you as part of the pack. To isolate a dog from yourself or part of his pack, your family, is the most cruelest form of mental punishment for a dog. Lastly, you may very well do everything right in the purchasing and training of your dog, and your dog may not be turning out quite the way you want it. Have patience. Many dogs mature at different levels. Harsh or cruel treatment of the dog will only confuse it and compound the problem. My mother, who was never a dog trainer, but an avid dog lover, instilled this in me at an early age in my life when my patience with the many dogs I owned or trained was at a breaking point. Her words I'll leave you with: don't break that dog's spirit. We thank you for watching this Video Tell production.
I raised pit bulls for 25 years, and I liked a tough, hardy dog. And about 5 years ago, we were at a dog show, and we seen a real tough, strong-looking dog. And
we were looking for about 2 years for a rare breed.
Yeah, we were looking about 2 years. We went to all the AKC shows and the rare breed shows, and we had run into Mike Satilli, who was the pioneer of the breed in this country, who brought him over here in 1988. And we liked the dog, we liked the temperament, and we decided to start breeding them.
The Romans met the Molossians during the Macedonian Wars. They were renamed Pugnaces for their combatantness and their fighting ability. It's difficult to say if the Cane Corso and the Neapolitan Mastiff have a common origin, but it's easy to assume that also with the Assyrian there were two kinds of Molossians. One was the big and statical dog used as watch and fighting dog. The second one, agile and dynamical, used as war and hunting dogs. These two breeds that we can also see in the Assyrian bas-reliefs in British museums probably were bred also by the Romans. At this point, it is right to tell you that we don't want to support that the Cane Corso or the Neapolitan Mastiff were bred in pureness since the Assyrians' age to now. There are only suppositions, especially if we consider that the modern concept of breeding was born less than 2 centuries ago, and that before then, the breed were distinct only for their functional utilization. In the specific case of the Cane Corso, its versatility and wide diffusion all over Italy was the cause of a broad differentiation in particular during the Middle Age due to the different utilizations and the particular tendencies of breeding in the different areas of Italy. As you know, the Corso was a cattle dog, a hunting dog, and a watchdog.
Mike Satilli, who is now deceased, was the pioneer of the breed. He brought the dogs here in 1988. He brought the first Cane Corsos here from Sicily, and he also brought some dogs from Puglia, which is southern Italy, by Naples.
And that's their origin.
That's the origin. They're mostly from Puglia.
The breed standard is pretty much a massive head, wide between the ears, a large chest. They're supposed to be very agile, good endurance, no excessive dewlap. They come in all colors except for white. That includes the striping, which is brindling. Anything else you want to add?
The males usually run from 100 to 140 pounds, females from 80 to 110 pounds.
What type of environment does the breed need?
Well, they're adaptable to pretty much any environment. They do better in the cooler weather. They're excellent house dogs. They don't shed. They don't drool. They're not hyperactive dogs. They don't jump all over you when you come into the house. But they are very loyal. They can't wait to see you when you come home. But they're pretty much adaptable anywhere.
There's no maintenance whatsoever. They're real short hair. In the winter, if you leave them outside, they get a thick undercoat, so they will shed the undercoat, during the summer months. And exercise-wise, you don't have to exercise, but we do exercise. We believe in exercising our dogs. We run them, we swim them, and just letting them loose, running around by themselves is good enough.
They have great endurance, so they're excellent for people who do jog and want to go on hikes and stuff. They can definitely keep up.
Watch him, boy. Watch him. Good boy. Good boy. Get him off.
Dad, get him off the sleeve.
Watch him. Good boy. Good boy.
I'll just say for the children, they're great with kids. They try to protect their children, if anything. As far as strangers go, like my husband said earlier, they're not indiscriminate biters, so they won't just attack anyone.
They're kind of standoffish to strangers a lot of times. They're not going to be your friend right away. I could give you, for instance, we were up in the back fields and somebody came here and the dog ran down and just stood in front of him and wouldn't let him go. He could go back to his car, it'd be all right, but he couldn't walk forward. If he came forward, he would have got bit. We came down, said he was all right, and the dog just walked away from him. So.
But he kept him at bay. He didn't let him near our house.
He's not just going to go up and bite somebody. But if you're in your house and somebody tries to come in your house, you're in big trouble.
How are they with other dogs?
Great.
Yeah, we take them to dog shows, and there's hundreds of dogs around, and they mind their own business. We let the females run loose. You have the males, though, they're real dominant, and they're not going to take nothing from another dog. They'll ignore them, but if the other dog tries to get aggressive with them at all, they'll
definitely get aggressive back.
They'll get aggressive back with them.
Two males have a little bit of a hard time getting along because they are such a dominant dog. But we find that with our dogs, we really don't have any trouble. But I don't suggest two large male dogs. The trainability of the Cane Corso is excellent. They're extremely intelligent dogs, and we feel that they're highly trainable. We did go to a Pine Barrens show. My husband and myself didn't enter it, but there was a Cane Corso entered into an obedience field trial, which does show trainability. The Corso beat out all the other dogs. He scored a 198 out of a possible 200, which is an extremely great score. So we have no problem training them. They're very easily trained. They want to please the owners, so they strive very hard to do it.
How do they do for protection type training?
Oh, real good. We do some personal protection work with our dogs, and at 10 months old, we had dogs hitting the sleeve, and I mean, real serious. You don't even have to teach them to do it. You know, the first time a couple of dogs we just took there, and usually you start them off with a tug and stuff. They hit the sleeve the first time, so you don't even have to train them. I mean, we just went to do it, you know, and they hit real hard.
Are they able to get out on the command?
Tougher. They're sort of like a pit bull and a bulldog type mentality once they get on the sleeve.
Very
But
tenacious.
they do listen a little bit better on the out.
We have people, well, we have 2 people who are training them in the canine units now, so we're really looking forward to hearing how they're turning out. From what I've heard, I've gotten all good reports, but
What states are they?
one is in Florida and the other one
Virginia.
is Virginia.
And stay on it.
Give it to him?
Yeah, hit it. Let him take the hit and fight him a bit.
Good boy.
Now drop
Good
it.
boy, Cobra.
Get him off the sleeve.
Get him, feel it.
Mike, you're supposed to kick the sleeve away.
Well, there was a man that lived in Tennessee, and he was going through Nashville during the middle of the night. He just got done being at a bar, and he had his Corso, was sleeping in the backseat of the car, and he stopped at a red light, and it was the summer. He had his window rolled down, and all of a sudden 2 guys just came up to his door and reached in, and he said the next thing you know, the Corso was on the guy's shoulder, biting the hell out of him. And that was that, and he drove away. Yeah.
You definitely feel safe at home with them.
What are some of your general thoughts on protection dogs?
Dog that is imposing looking, and that's not an indiscriminate biter. I want a dog that's smart enough to know when you need them. I don't want a dog that you're going to have to lock down the basement every time somebody comes to the house, and then if something does happen, they're not going to be there to help you. And just a smart dog that knows when to be a protection dog.
And these dogs are very imposing looking. Just the sight of them is enough to deter a burglar or anyone else. And well, our prices start from $700 to $900 for a pet quality dog, and it goes up to $1,500 for pick of the litter. And $1,000 to $1,500 would be breeder quality.
That has no bearing on temperament, though.
No,
The temperament of a $700 dog will be the same as the temperament of a $1,500
We're talking about
dog.
maybe some kind of breeding faults. Maybe they're overbite or undershot.
A color that's not supposed to be where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
A marking.
Absolutely has no bearing at all on your dog being healthy and a good protective dog.
How do you prepare a young puppy for protection work and then assist the buyer in selecting a puppy?
When the puppy's young, we try to put them in different environments, different rooms, different noises, putting the radio on, throwing keys on the ground.
Take them by ShopRite, let them hear the cars.
You know, I mean, what we do here, though, is we take them in different rooms and put them in different environments and have people, you know, different people coming in. So you socialize them when they're young. You start them at 4 or 5 weeks old, getting around people. We'll fool around with a tug with them, you know, just a little piece of towel or something like that. Throw keys down, make a lot of loud stomping noises, put the radio real loud, things of that sort. So they're used to not being shy, and you'll know who comes out. You'll know which dog has the right temperament to send to this person, you know.
Feeler. Feeler. Get him, boy. Get him, boy. Get him, boy. Get him, boy. Feeler. Get him, boy. Go. Go.
We took a trip over to Italy, my husband and myself. We went over with the original importer of the dogs to America, Mike Sotilli, as we stated before. We got a lot of great information over in Italy. We got to see them in their home environment, how they're used on the farms, and we got to meet some of the top breeders in Italy. So it was a very informative trip. We made some really good connections. And we went to a couple dog shows over there. And we also help run the ICCF, which is the only registry that's recognized by SAC, which is the registry in Italy for the Cane Corsos. There's a few other registries, I believe, in America now, but the ICCF is the only one that's recognized by SAC. And we run that with another couple.
Apulia, and we went to Macedonia, and we seen all the dogs in their original habitat. We seen them on farms with chickens and goats and cattle, and We seen them doing their guard work, and we went to all the different breeders, and we acquired our own stock from different breeders. And right now, one of the top dogs in the United States, Champion Terrell, we acquired him from Italy. And all our original stock is from Italy, and now we're doing our own breeding, and we're making our own line of dogs, Belmonte Cane Corso, and hopefully we do a good job with it.
Hey! Watch it, Rocco. Watch it, Rocco. Watch it, Rocco.
Remember, keep that sleeve tight to your chest when you do it.
Good boy!
Stay back, Eddie.
Good boy!
Slip.
Good boy! Come on! Good boy! Good boy!
What are some of the inherent health problems of the breed?
As any large breed, they do have hip dysplasia. They do get cherry eye once in a while, but other than that, they've been pretty sturdy dog, pretty rugged dog, and we live up on top of the mountain here, and they're outside all winter, 40 below and stuff, and they take it well.
Watch it, watch it, watch it. Good boy! Good boy! Good boy! Get him! Good boy!
Slip.
Good boy! Good boy! Good boy! Good boy! Good boy!
That's it. Look at him carry the sleeve. He feels very good. A lot of success there. Confident dog. He's got a piece of the man.
What are your buyer requirements?
Even when we talk to them, we don't want these dogs going down to New York City to be drug guard dogs. When the people come up here, you'll see what type of person they are, what type of where they live. It's just a feeling of the person.
We talk to these people a lot on the phone, and after they purchase puppies, we also talk to them. But before they come up, we try to encourage them to come up. If they don't, we do a lot of talking over the phone and get a feel for them as best we can. Cane Corso makes a great home companion. It makes an excellent guard dog. We got involved with them because we couldn't find any faults with them. They're not indiscriminate biters. They're wonderful in the house. They're not hyper.
They don't drool.
They don't drool.
Real athletic.
Real athletic. You can go on and on about their pros. And their con list is extremely short. We really haven't found any cons. If you are interested in looking at our dogs, we welcome anyone to come up during the week or weekends. We live up in Berryville along the Delaware River in New York. Just give us a call.
My dogs are house pets, first and foremost. They're all champions. They all have working titles. This is the Caucasian of Chaka, otherwise known as the Caucasian Shepherd or the Caucasian Sheepdog. It originates in the Caucasus region of the former Soviet Union, which includes Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, parts of Turkey, and Iran. Its original purpose was as a flock guardian, and it's believed to be a self-evolved breed. Some theories consider it to be of Tibetan Mastiff origin. The Russians started employing them, realizing the trainability and the value of the dog and their excellent guarding instincts, and started employing them. The Russian Army and primarily the Red Star Kennel, which was in, the Red Star Kennel was responsible for promoting, training the various working breeds, employed them as service dogs, and at one point they were used exclusively in the gulags.
Good girl.
Right there. Let me take the whip.
They're a naturally protective breed, as they were originally bred, of course, as a flock guardian. They are excellent with other livestock if appropriately raised. Without proper socialization, they can be very aggressive towards people and animals. It's not a dog that you want to do Schutzhund training with or anything like that. Their instincts will naturally come in on their own. My puppy started barking at 4 weeks of age. This is not a dog that you need to teach to bite, as with many Schutzhund breeds. They need heavy socialization, and regardless of whether it's a hands-on or hands-off dog, they need to have exposure to all situations, so they are a canine good citizen. Caucasian is considered a very easy keeper. They're not large eaters. They will naturally blow their coat 2 times a year. They require minimal grooming, and they're very thrifty eaters. They're very trainable. For a flock guardian, they do have a relatively high desire to please, although they still are an independent and stubborn dog. Obedience training is not a 8-week course. It's a lifetime of training with these dogs. As far as health, they're primarily a fairly hardy and healthy breed that can tolerate all weather extremes, extreme heat, extreme cold. There is hip dysplasia, of course, in the breed, as in all breeds. The breed standard mentions cataracts and eye problems, which I believe to probably be entropia. I have not seen any myself yet. A Caucasian can run anywhere from $500 for a pet quality up as much as $1,500. They're really quite rare in the United States now. There's approximately 200, although it's hard to say. There are little pockets of people here and there that aren't necessarily showing their dogs or have them as working stock or whatever. Things to watch out for, you have to be really careful with, is temperament, of course, on the parents, health, hips, that sort of thing. The Russians, basically, this is all new to them and are not necessarily advanced in that sort of technology. There's been a lot of crossbreeding in Russia. Pedigrees are easily available in Russia for 600 rubles, which is a matter of a few dollars, and you basically have to be very careful. A lot of immigrants are bringing their dogs over with them or bringing over puppies that they think will be a cash crop, and this usually is inferior stock. Unfortunately, due to the situation in the economy in Russia, anything that's worth money can and will be sold, including crossbreeds with the false papers. And there are people in Russia who truly do care about their breed and would like to be it saved. Over there, they don't have the money and the resources that we do here, but you have to be extremely careful with finding an ethical person or an ethical breeder. With proper training and socialization, the Caucasian can make an excellent dog. They're excellent family pets. They can be good with children. Of course, they are a naturally dominant breed, and parameters have to be set from the day one.
Good
girl, Sheebs.
If she does it
Good girl.
right there, let her take the whip.
The game.
Watch. Good girl. Watch her. Good girl. Watch. Out. Good girl. Watch. Good girl. Watch her. Good girl. Watch. Out.
Can you tell us how you got involved with the breeding and training of Doberman Pinschers?
Well, Jack Healy, who I'm sure that if anybody's picked up a dog world in the last 50 years has seen his picture in almost every issue, was actually the founder of this company and started his program immediately with Dobermans. He was so impressed with their usage in World War II that he really wanted to bring the benefits of the dog to the broad spectrum in the U.S. And then he and my husband, Jim Salva, became partners 15 years into that and decided that they would expand the program to accommodate, they were just training dogs at the time for protection work, outsiders, decided that they would expand the program and set it up so that they would actually supply their own animals for sale. And it's a very, very comprehensive program that we use. Basically, because Mr. Healy actually obtained a federal grant after his service to study wild dog behavior. When he came back, he produced a copywritten training procedure that's from birth forward, and it encompasses everything that we use here and the only techniques that we use here at the Academy.
Watch. Good girl. Watch her. Good girl.
Come. Sit.
This is my 5-year-old son. He's going to do this same animal that you've just seen doing his protection work. He's going to do now just some light obedience, best visibility with the same dog immediately after agitation. Show your arm. Yeah.
1880, in the German province of Thuringia, Carl Louis Doberman, a local tax and rent collector and dog warden, set about to create a superb guard dog that we know today as a Doberman Pinscher. Doberman did not keep records, so the various breeds used by him to create the Doberman is subject to debate. However, it is believed that the Rottweiler, German Short-Haired Pinscher, the Weimaraner, the Manchester Terrier, Great Dane, and the Greyhound contributed to the makeup of today's Doberman Pinscher.
What we look for in trying to achieve is physical soundness. What I mean by that is an animal that is not displaying some of the typical genetic problems that can occur, like cardiomyopathy or dysplasia, those things. You look for an animal, for instance, breed standard for your male Dobie should be 27 to 28 inches. Female should be 25 to 26 and a half inches. For us, we don't feel that you should inhibit the genetic pattern at all, so we don't do that in our breeding program. What we do is not try and stay within AKC standards because we're not competing the dogs inside show best of breed. We breed for health, longevity, and the way you do that is no inbreeding or line breeding.
What type of care and maintenance does this breed need relating to grooming and exercise?
Well, really, they're a very low maintenance animal when it comes to comparably. Their coat is such that if the animals are bathed once a week and kept in the proper environment, and the biggest thing about Doberman's environment is not to give them too much exposure to cold, extreme cold temperatures. If you do that and you attend to the animal on a regular basis, is keeping his nutritional balance good, exercise can be kept to a minimal. A lot of people think that the best thing to do to slow a dog down is to exercise them. In fact, if you put too much time into the exercise portion of it, you'll bring up the stamina of the dog. So instead of correcting your problem, you're compounding your problem.
Stay. Down. Stay. Come. All right. Sit. Down.
Well, for our animals, we give them proper socialization and exposure from a young age forward, practically from birth forward. So anything that you bring with inside the animal's environment, they can adapt to. Dobermans are exceedingly intelligent animals and they want to please. The desire to please within the breed is incredible. So it makes them very adaptable. Certain people feel that they're maybe too high-strung to be around children. You couldn't ask for a better babysitter. They're wonderful. Well, there are a number of different conditions that you need to try and make sure that are nowhere in your breeding program or nowhere in your lines. One, it can be from a condition that Dobies are very given to with the eyelashes. The eyelashes are actually turned in on the eye. Creates a severe problem with the animal and usually has to be reversed with surgery. Of course, you tend to see a lot of dysplasia, but not in your hips as much as in your front elbows. Sometimes in the hock, but usually the front elbows. And then of course you do have now, unfortunately with the advent of adding color, breeding, so like your delusions and your whites, you pick up cardiomyopathy, which is a pretty severe problem.
The general quality of the Doberman as a top protection breed in general has gone downhill in the last 10 to 20 years. It is to the point now that many people don't even consider it to be a protection dog. What are some of the reasons for the decline of the Doberman Pinscher?
Well, that's pretty simple. You had two ends of the spectrum causing a problem within the breed. One, you have your show breeders that are very concerned with appearance, that are doing a heavy amount of inbreeding and line breeding to accomplish what they want to say, the refinement in the head, the proper top line. The other end of the spectrum that damages it is your backyard breeders that just overbred, literally. And they were breeding your brothers and sisters. They were, you name the rule, they would break it. When you have a saturation because of popularity, everybody wants to make money as a result of it. They don't take into consideration how to properly breed the animal.
Come on! Come on! Come on!
There are many people that feel if they buy a Doberman from AKC registered championship bloodlines that it still has the ability to become a good protection dog. Are they right in this line of thinking?
Well, training is a very important part, environmental raising and training. But to be honest with you, most of the show dogs that we see, most of the Dobies in the show ring, really they're either super aggressive to the extent they're such fear biters that you can't put a good stable protection foundation in them, or the other extreme is that they have no aggression at all. And unfortunately you see both personalities pretty heavily displayed within the breed.
Differences between the male and female in the Doberman Pinscher besides the obvious.
Okay, with your Dobies, you can look for the first line key. Your males tend to be much hotter than your females, not with their protection. Their females are excellent with their protection, but their reactivity to other animals, their patience with small children. For instance, for us, if you come to us with a child under the age of 5 and you want to buy a Dobie, we'll only sell you a female. We will not place a male Dobie in a home with a child under 5, not an adult. Now, if you're buying a puppy from us and you're going to raise it, no problem. But the breed standard tells you, if you know the animal at all, that the female is more stable around children consistently. They're excellent. The same, just as an aside, the same is directly opposite of the Shepherd. If somebody comes to us with a child under 5 and wants to purchase already protection trained German Shepherd, we only sell them the males because it's the exact reverse. Down. Stay. Dalton, heel. No heel. Sit. Down. Heel. Sit. Down. Heel. No heel. Good puppy.
What is the trainability of the Doberman Pinscher? I've heard some people say they have a difficult time training, that they train well for only one master. What are some of your opinions on this?
I don't think that there's a much more intelligent animal that you'll work with out there. As long as the animal is good and sound, you don't have any neuroses from inbreeding, you're going to find the trainability and the time involved is so much less. It's incredible how smart the animals are, how fast they learn. And the big thing with the Dobies is that they want to please. They live to please. The consistency in the theory that the Dobies are just one-person individuals doesn't really hold true. You know, it's true that they're going to lock and bond heavily into one primary person, but they are certainly going to be just as affectionate and loyal and protective of the rest of the family.
Since you've been breeding Doberman Pinschers for such a long time, is there any stories you could tell us about any of the dogs that you've placed in any homes, any Doberman stories from dogs that you've placed in various homes throughout the country?
Well, I think one of my favorite stories is about a family in California who purchased an animal from us 9 months ago. And they were they purchased a puppy, not an adult, raised the puppy. We're considering the puppy hit around 8.5 months, and they had called and made arrangements for his protection training. And there was a small child in the family, I guess about 3, little boy. The dog was just super protective. He always circles the hall at night to make sure everybody's bedroom is secure. Well, they had a problem with a carjacking. A gentleman tried taking the dog to the vet to get its health certificate so it could ship back here to us. And Mom was gassing up a Caravan, and the baby was in a car seat, and the guy went to jump in the driver's seat so he could take off. The baby was in the passenger seat, the car seat. And when he got in the car, he did get in and get the door shut behind him. And this puppy at 8.5 months old jumped up in the front seat so he could put his body between the baby and the carjacker and went nuts on the guy, not with a continual multiple bite, but down hard on his right arm, and he could not, the pain he was in, he could not even open the door to get himself back out. He was absolutely nuts. Very docile, however, by the time the police got there. But when you see, that's what we look for. We breed natural aggression into our animal. We like a high level of what we call controlled, socialized aggression. And that's exactly what you can see. I mean, that puppy at 8.5 months was willing to do whatever he had to automatically to look after the baby with no protection work at all. Now what we do is teach him control and usage behind our protection work, because the toughness is...
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
We feel we do it right. What we do is we do blood testing, try and eliminate major problems that might occur. We don't do any online breeding or inbreeding. We breed for health and longevity. And so we utilize breeding homes. And as a result of that, we have the ability to just raise a specific number of litters per home with proper handling. Just to give you an idea, our puppies are whelped in 90-degree rooms. They're hand whelped so that the handler can coat the bitch's nipples in human perspiration. We scent the puppies with human breath immediately. First primary scent is human, not canine. And once you establish that forward, then you've got the basic foundation for stability that you need so you can do proper protection work.
What are some of your general thoughts on protection dogs?
Well, we don't want any 90-day wonders out there, and we wish nobody produced them. What we do, we wait till the animal's 10 months of age to start his protection work, somewhere between the very youngest 9 months. We don't use any form of shock collars, no form of pinch collars, and we do not strike the dogs during agitation. We literally make agitation and the learning of agitation and protection work a game for the dogs. They live for it. If you watch them, they're so up. Then you teach, using our copywritten training procedure. It gives you the ability to teach the animals to meet aggression with aggression. When the threat ceases, the animal postures himself back to a ceased position. When you can put those things into an animal without causing any damage while along the way, taking enough time to do it the right way, then the end result is a completely stable, child-proof, I don't care how small the child is, fierce protector. But they're pet protectors, and that's what we're looking for. That's the way everyone should be that's done out there. At least that way your private sector is protected.
What is your pricing structure if someone wants to purchase a dog from you?
Okay, it's going to depend directly on the type of training they select. If they select defensive training, which is personal protection, that's the first 3 levels, then the animal is going to cost them somewhere between $2,800 and $5,000, just depending on the age and the level of the 3 defensive levels the animal's at. If it is attack on command, that animal is now not going to be 10 months to 16 months in age, but it's going to be from 16 months to 3 years in age. We're going to have 3 times the time in the dog, and it's going to be full attack on command, and the different levels through attack on command. And those animals are going to be somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000, just depending.
For the purchase price of a puppy, we recommend you contact the United States Canine Academy directly. What do you require of a buyer who wishes to purchase a dog from you?
We want people that are really serious about their animal. We want them to, if we know the animal's going to be a part of the family, we don't breed yard dogs. We don't want yard dogs. We want our animals to be kept inside. That's not to say that we won't train perimeter dogs, but again, we have to know that the animal's going to be maintained in a proper environment and well cared for. They all need affection. They all look for the bond. So we want to screen our people to make sure that it's going to be an enjoyable, happy atmosphere for our dog, as well as it will be a mutual relationship of benefit for the new owner.
I often hear many dog owners say, my dog doesn't need any personal protection training. If the need arises, my dog will protect me naturally.
Okay. Do you know that there are no recorded attacks of man from wolf? They'll attack livestock, what have you. Take it all the way back, because that's what you're dealing with. The animal, just because an animal will advance and bark, does not mean that he knows how to posture himself to bite and to protect or to be a man stopper. It's one thing to alert and it's one thing to sound tough. To actually be able to do the job is a whole different story. If you watch, whenever you watch nature clips or what have you of the wolf, notice the way they're advancing and retreating, whenever they're going in, even when they strike another animal, they have that constant insecurity that pulls them back to retreat. That's what you have to put the confidence and the training into the animal for, so it's a controlled situation. They know to stand their ground. They know to go forward for the bite if it's necessary. And they know when to shut down accordingly. But unless you give them that education, you may get a lot of noise, but there's a real good chance you'll never get the bite or the follow-through to actually stop an intruder. We do a lot of outside sales, out of the country sales. We do a lot of security animals, police departments, fire, arson dogs, that type thing. We also do, our puppies are available with obedience training. Moreover than that, we also offer a trainer's course, and it's a registered trainer's course, which entails 3 weeks of very intense comprehensive training. We only take 2 students at a time, and the end result is a full spectrum education. We usually produce about 30 trainers a year, and they're all over the country, including this just in the last 6 months. We've done 6 students from Turkey, just to give you an example, all coming to us at different times from different sources, but all from Turkey. We're trying always to expand the consciousness of the Doberman and of properly handled, properly raised protection animals worldwide, not just US-wide. Mr. Healy supplied dogs for years to the Philippines. My husband supplied dogs to just about every smaller country for security work, 15 at last count. Sort of what we do is try and cover it all.
I'd like to thank Master Trainer Richard Connors and the entire staff at the United States Canine Academy for their help in producing this breed segment. Watch 'em, watch 'em.
We began breeding the Dogue de Bordeaux approximately 8 years ago. We came across them kind of accidentally, thought they were a unique breed. We found ourselves with a pair of them, and it just kind of got out of hand from there. They have a addictive way about them, where once you have them, you just have to have more. The Dogue de Bordeaux originated back in Roman Empire times. They were originally used as fighting dogs. They were used in ring sport. They would fight them against bulls, bears, lions. Basically, it didn't matter if they got killed in these fights because they were considered ugly and dispensable, and it really didn't make a difference to anybody. Eventually, they started being used as protection dogs when the people realized how loyal they really were and how good at protecting they were. It was a natural ability for them.
In 1950 or 51, the dog is a fighting dog, and it was brought into the United States to fight this spectacular paid event in California to fight a jaguar. It was a real long, drawn-out battle between the dog and the cat. Unfortunately, the Bordeaux didn't survive the fight. The dog then was reinstated into the United States as a pet in 1960, and has flourished ever since then.
The Dogue de Bordeaux needs very little grooming. They need to be brushed. They need normal things such as their teeth cleaned, their ears cleaned. But because they are a short-haired dog, they have very little requirements as far as grooming goes. They don't like the heat, meaning it's not a dog you're going to take out in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer, and take them jogging. They prefer the cooler weather. They don't require a whole lot of exercise. You know, a good walk every day, or if you have a large yard where they can exercise at their own needs. The Dogue de Bordeaux are very, very adaptable with their circumstances. They have an extended family. They will accept new children into the household without the jealousy that you see in a lot of breeds, without any danger to the newcomer. They pretty much will welcome new people into the home as long as they don't pose to be a threat. Strangers, they will welcome a stranger wagging their tail. They will not be aggressive unless there's a need to be, such as the person is there to do you harm or shouldn't be there. You know, it's against their nature to be aggressive unless it's called for. As far as other dogs go, they are a dog-aggressive breed. They need to be socialized with other dogs from a young age, and they'll get along with cats. And ours do very well with chickens and turkeys, and you know, pretty much everything because they've been raised with them.
Inherent health problems of the breed.
As far as the general health of the breed, they are a healthy dog. I really can't say that they have anything common to the breed that, you know, that they really have problems with. You know, little things here and there. Occasionally you'll get one where the atropia, where the eyelid turns in a little bit and irritates the eye, which is a simple procedure to correct, but I would say that's probably only one out of maybe 50 or 60 dogs that you'll see that in. The trainability of the Dogue de Bordeaux, they are very easily trained dogs. They're very eager to please. They haven't been used much in Schutzhund for the mere fact that it's not something that has ever been really found necessary to do. They will protect by instinct when needed. They appeared in a movie with Tom Hanks. There were 3 Bordeaux in the movie, and they were very highly trained to do the scenes that they did in the movie.
Slow down, boy. This dog's nuts. We're gonna have to shoot him.
Hey, you're not gonna shoot this dog. It's the closest thing we have to a witness.
You're not gonna do it.
You don't have what it takes. What, kill you? You're right, I don't. But he does. Hooch.
The Bordeaux has the biggest head of any other breed of dog in the world in comparison to its body size. If a Bordeaux is 27 inches at the shoulder, the Bordeaux's head will be at least 27 inches around the widest part of the head. No other dog has a head that big in comparison to his body. There's other big dogs, but their heads are small in comparison. The breeding stock that we began our line with is European. We have quite a few French imports, which, as far as imports go, you do have to be careful if you're not dealing with a reputable importer or if you're not doing it yourself, because a lot of times they would rather move some other lesser quality stock out of France and keep the good ones there. So you really have to be careful when importing. But we did start our breed with Import Foundation, and we have since we're on basically 3 and 4 generations going from that to produce a strong line, a healthy line, and a sound line.
They're a gentle dog. They're originally brought in for herding dogs also. So the technique they use to keep animals from getting hurt from wild animals such as wolves and stuff like that also goes over into children, such as a time when we were at a lake and there was a couple toddlers at the edge of the lake and the dog went down and actually herded the kids back from the water. It was just very funny to see that come true with such a big, massive dog, be so gentle to caring for something like that.
That's good. Good.
Spring Mountain Kennels, we also raise cougars. This is a 7 or 8 year old male named Zephyr. And when Zephyr's in a good mood, he's nice to be around. When he's tired of you petting him, that's when it's time to leave. He'll let you know. Don't fight when you do it.
Nice. Nice. Come on, get up there.
He used to have hair up there till she licked it off.
She's off her mark.
She's
trying to get over towards my shoulder. She's getting heavier. Huh?
Shush,
Huh.
Oreo.
There she goes. That's what she wants. Hey, what do you want, huh? All that fuss around for that, huh? Oh, God, it's worse than any shaver you can imagine.
Thank you for your interest in Spring Mountain Kennels. We look forward to doing business with you in the future. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss anything further, please feel free to call us.
Well, my name is Linda Madio Ramey. I've been breeding Feelers now for 9 years. I first became interested in this breed. I moved to the New Jersey area from upstate New York and had a sporting breed and was very lonely for any sort of canine companionship and called a local kennel who bred working dogs and sort of invited myself over for coffee. And upon getting a tour of the kennel, I saw this litter of puppies, and of course it was, what is that? That's the Fila Brasilero. I fell in love with the breed. I took one home, and it's been a passionate love affair ever since. We have no more sporting breeds. We're solely Filas now. The history of the Fila its origins are very mysterious. The most accepted theory is it's a combination of Mastiff, Bulldog, and Bloodhound. And when I say Bulldog, I'm not talking about today's Old English Bulldog, rather a bulldog that looked more like a pit bull, longer in leg, definitely not a pushed-in face. And the Fila has been traditionally used in Brazil as a farm dog. They would go out with the cowboys and help gather the cattle up. If they needed to segregate a couple of cows for branding or castration, they're typical stock dogs. They'd leap up and grab the face and hold it. If they needed to move a herd from point A to point B, the Fila would chase and nip at the heels of the cow and get them going in the direction the cowboys needed them. And of course, at night, they came in back to the farm. They didn't stay with the herds, and they guarded the farm, the fazenda as it's called in Brazil, and would allow no strangers anywhere near the property. As in the United States, farming in Brazil has become a big business. You don't have free-ranging cattle anymore, and the Fila has slowly been phased out of that part of its job, and now it is basically a guard dog, especially in the big cities of Rio de Janeiro, Brasilia, and Sao Paulo.
What type of environment does the breed need?
The breed needs an environment of people who love it. This is not a good kennel dog. They do not like living in kennels. They want to be with their people. In terms of an exercise requirement, they're not a particularly high energy dog. They just want to be what you want. If you're a couch potato and you like to just sit around and watch TV all day, most of Filas will be perfectly happy to follow their owner's lead. If you like to exercise, you want to run a couple miles a day, the Fila will do that too. They are truly the most extraordinary breed in terms of wanting to please you. The Fila is very unique. When they're young, and I'm saying 6 months and under, in most cases, don't forget every dog is an individual, they're pretty open to whatever you want to introduce them to. But with most Filas, at approximately 12 to 18 months of age, the circle closes. The people and the things that that dog is comfortable and familiar with are all it will accept for the rest of its life. I definitely recommend that Filas be introduced to children from a very young age or not exposed to them at all. I think there's a little bit of a misnomer with all dogs as far as the Lassie syndrome. It's true that Filas are great with the children in your house. That does not mean that they're great with all children. And I've seen this in all lines and all types of Fila. They can't understand that children are playing, and because your kid is yelling and screaming on the bottom of the pile and having a good time, to the Fila, this looks like trouble. So I don't think it's a good idea for any working guard dog to be treated like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever in terms of people, children, and strangers. You should always be on your guard.
I've heard it said that a Fila that receives no socialization other than its immediate family is so naturally protective that these dogs are just lawsuits waiting to happen.
I think it depends on who's raised the dog, how much training and socialization it's had. I have definitely seen some Filas, I've owned some Filas that were lawsuits waiting to happen. This breed is only to be purchased and owned by people who are responsible. And if you want, in other words, you really can't have it both ways. If you socialize your Fila and you raise him up to understand that when you bring people into your home and you've admitted them that the situation is under control and the dog does not need to react, that's fine. There are many, many Filas that can learn this and don't have a problem with it. But then on the other hand, don't expect to take that dog outside and have him be a lethal weapon on the end of the lead. And the opposite is true. If you never socialize him and he leaps and snarls and goes after anything that comes within 5 feet of him, well, obviously put the dog up when you have company or when anyone strange is on your property because he's just not going to tolerate their presence.
What are some of the inherent health problems of the Fila?
Hip dysplasia is probably number one. Fortunately for us, our problem with hips seemed to be in obtaining OFA numbers for breeding certification more so than actually lame, crippled, dysplastic dogs. All of this does happen. Most of the Fila live very healthy, happy, productive lives. They're certified mildly dysplastic, mostly due to what's called subluxation. There's simply not a tight enough fit between the hip and the socket. But all in all, the Fila is a very natural dog and lives a very healthful, not too expensive in terms of veterinarian care life.
What's the trainability of the Fila?
Is excellent. Healing is a natural trait with these dogs. They have very little tendency to pull ahead of you. There are some problems as far as Schutzhund with the dog doing the revere, for example. It can be very hard for a Fila of the correct temperament to do this sort of sport, to understand, oh, I can't bite on the revere. And it would really take a lot of training to teach him, for example, in the courage test, he can only bite the sleeve. He's not allowed to take the guy down. I have to be honest and say that if you're interested in Schutzhund or ring sport and you really want to be competitive, the Fila would not be a breed for you. They're definitely never going to be able to compete in those spheres with Rottweilers, Malinois, German Shepherds. I had an experience coming home from a dog show a few years ago. I was coming down 95 north from Connecticut through the part of the Bronx that 95 weaves through, and it was terrible, terrible traffic, and we were all stalled, just stop and go, stop and go. And you know, some young punks were running from car to car. They were either trying to solicit money by spitting on windshields and getting them cleaned. You know, they just kind of wipe it off with a handkerchief, or just banging on the hoods of people's cars and really being a nuisance. I wouldn't say they actually threatened anybody, but it was 9:30 at night, and I was a little concerned, so I took one of my Filas. I was in a van. I took one of my Filas out of his crate and just had him loose. And sure enough, they came up from the side of the van, and he went to go. I didn't have air conditioning, so my windows were rolled down. He went to go and stick his head in the side of my window, and this dog just came out of nowhere. Rawr! He pinwheeled back, slammed off the car next to me. He wasn't even screaming, he was gibbering, and the whole flock of them just took off. And good dog, and I barely was able to restrain him from going out the window, so I tied him to the passenger seat, and I happened to look in my mirror, and a guy 2 cars back is kind of waving. He's trying to get my attention, but he doesn't want to come up to the van. And he sees that I see him, and he calls out, "What kind of dog is that?" And I said, "Oh, that's the Fila Brasileiro." And he said, "Well, boy, every cop in America should have one of those dogs." So I was pretty proud of my guy. I believe with all my heart that if all you're interested in is the bottom line profit motive, there's absolutely no way you can be true to this breed. There isn't any money to be made in breeding dogs correctly. You have to have a lot of guts. You have to make some really hard decisions sometimes as to dogs that you might really love and really have wanted to use but have to discard for one reason or the other. And you have to be true to yourself, and you have to be true to your breed. And if all that matters is making money, then it's impossible to do that.
You got an attitude.
What are some of your general thoughts on protection dogs?
I think protection dogs are much better than guns. A protection dog that is of proper temperament will never accidentally go off and kill your 5-year-old because he wandered down to see the Christmas tree at 5 o'clock in the morning. I have children myself, and I worry about our security, or I did before I had the Filas. But a gun just didn't seem to be the solution. There are just too many accidents that can happen. I would really like to see the intruder who could wrest my Fila away from me. But it would be a very real possibility of someone wresting a gun from me. I think dogs also are more a deterrent because really, ideally, you don't want the person to ever even get into your house or on your property. You really want him to take a look at your situation and say, no, I'm not going to mess with that. Let me try somebody else. And with a dog, that's what he sees.
What are the prices of your dogs?
Fila puppy prices range for my kennel from $600 to $2,000 depending on the quality of the dog. And as far as the lower end, depends on why I'm selling it as a pet. In other words, what's wrong with it. And on the upper end of the scale, how great do I think it is, and do I even want to sell it? We basically breed when we feel we need some new young stock in our kennel. And I do usually keep the very best. And I'll sell second picks, but I generally, it's very, very difficult to pry the best puppy from a litter out of my hands.
The second picks are still quality dogs.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't tell you, even with my experience, how many times, we're talking about 6- and 8-week-old puppies, how many times that pick puppy didn't turn out to be as good as the second pick, and also the third pick, who's, boom, I see him in 18 months and go, oh, I can't believe I didn't keep him. So when I grade my litters of puppies, it's pretty much arbitrary first, second, and third. A lot of that has to do with the puppy's personality and how much I like him, because I've been living with him since he's been born. But as far as general structure and conformation, they're basically equal. Nobody has a crystal ball that can look at an 8-week-old puppy and say, aha, I know what you're going to be at 2. You have a good idea, but there's certainly no guarantee.
If you're looking for a Fila puppy and your primary purpose of the pup is protection, you really want a very outgoing puppy. Stay away from a puppy that cowers away from you at this age, which is 6 weeks, growls or snaps at you. That is not indicative of a good temperament. That's not true Fila temperament. That's a temperament of a puppy with a really bad nervous system that in all likelihood will grow up to be a fear biter. Hey you, what are you doing? You want a calm, stable, outgoing dog? I would tend to look for a puppy that wanted to chase things, had a little bit of prey drive, something that the Fila is notorious for being a little bit low in. They're definitely more defensive dogs. Come on my property, I'll get you, but once you're off of my turf, I'll go back home. I have no interest in tracking you to the ends of the earth.
One thing I would like to add is in terms of the Fila and the breed standard. I think it's really important that a Fila look like a Fila. Anybody can, you can go to a shelter or the local dog pound and get a really nasty junkyard type dog that will bite people. But he can't pass, there's no guarantee that he can pass on what he is. Where with purebred dogs, that's why we breed for selective traits. We want the dogs to act a certain way and to look a certain way. And I think that in the United States, we are really making great strides in meeting the FCI requirements that all dogs that have earned a show championship before they're awarded that title must pass a temperament test. In the case of the Fila, this means that you have to be able to pass gunshot and agitation. And I think that all breeds of dogs should have temperament tests, and they should have proper temperaments comparative to what their function was supposed to be.
Parents home? No? Well, come with me!
I got my first German Shepherd back in 1975. She was all German lines, German show lines. Very nice temperament dog, but unfortunately she had bad hips. The ears never stood. And by the age of 1.5 years, we had to put her to sleep. Originally, from that dog, my second one, who died last year, who made it to the age of 14. We put a Schutzhund 1 on her over 10 years ago, 12 years ago. She was the foundation for my first German Shepherds as far as breeding stock goes. Since then, I've now imported several dozen dogs and used maybe 4 or 5 of the better ones for breeding purposes. We've now put together a breeding program where we have on the ground 3 to 4 generations of our own dogs now, out of German lines. The German Shepherd is my love, though. We deal primarily only with the German lines because of the working temperament that's involved with them. They have strong nerves, good physical ability, the ability to discriminate between when they should and when they shouldn't be aggressive. The breed originally started out in Germany. The man who was credited with the starting of this breed was Max von Steffen. In the late 1800s, he put together the criteria for a dog, not so concerned with the physical looks of the dog, but more important was the dog's working ability. He was concerned with the dog's ability for training for obedience and primarily for the dog's protective instincts to discriminate between when he should be using these behaviors and when he shouldn't. Not very long after the origination of this breed in Germany, it was found to be important to this country by people that were looking for exotic or different breeds at that time. The dog should be of medium size, medium build. Dogs going over 100 pounds are maybe impressive looking, but then they start to lose the physical ability that is necessary for the dog to perform working functions, meaning running great distances, running with any speed, jumping, climbing fences, agility, things like that.
Good boy, go get it. All right. There's up. Come on, buddy. Good boy. Nuts. Slide. Go ahead. Gonna make this thing everything. Now spring it. Good boy.
Environment-wise, the dog is a very social animal. They don't do well being raised solely in a kennel or being kept tied out in the backyard where they're deprived of human companionship and human contact. The dogs actually crave the companionship or the relationship with an owner, whether it be a single person or a family. I would consider the German Shepherd a low-maintenance breed. Compared to most dogs which need regular grooming or clipping and trimming, the German Shepherd, he sheds every year in the spring. With the occasional brushing and without very much bathing, the dog is kept very clean as far as, being a house dog or a companion dog.
Some of the inherent health problems of the German Shepherd.
Hip dysplasia might be considered one of the biggest problems with the breed. As a general rule, though, if you're using dogs that are OFA certified or A-stamped in Germany, where the hips are considered to be suitable for breeding, you greatly reduce the chances of having this problem. I personally, right now, bred probably 25, close to 30 litters, and out of that many litters, I've maybe only had 2, possibly 3 dogs that were considered dysplastic that had to be put down because of bad hips. As a general rule, physical appearances, the male should definitely look masculine, the female should have a more feminine look to her. As a rule for a house dog or a companion, the females, as a general rule, will tend to be easier to handle, maybe quicker to get aggressive, but more sensitive so that when it is required that the dogs are obedient, the female tends to make maybe an easier pet for the novice owner or for the average family.
Tell us about the trainability of the German Shepherd.
It's easy. All you have to do is look around. You see the dogs being used for seeing eye, search and rescue, police work, drug and bomb detection, herding. It's one of the only breeds that's capable of doing all the work that a dog has ever been intended to do.
Sit! Foot! Move out. Halt! Step back! Put!
Horn.
Get him!
All you need to do is turn on your TV set to watch cops or open up a newspaper. You're constantly reading articles about German Shepherds out there, tracking down armed felons, rescuing lost children, detaining planes or boats that are carrying illegal loads of drugs of many different types.
Seems to be this idea out there in the public that if an 80-pound German Shepherd is a great dog, then a German Shepherd weighing maybe 120 or 130 pounds must be even a better dog. What's your opinion on this?
As a general rule, what happens is as they start producing Shepherds that are 100, 125, 130 pounds, the dog loses the ability to be able to run as fast, jump as high, and then again to live a lifestyle where he is going to be agile and healthy in his later age. This dog here in particular, he's 11 years old. He's a Schutzen 3 import from Germany. He's 9-time Schutzen 3. But even for the age of 11 years old, he'll go out there and he'll run around. You'd swear the dog is 2-3 years old, the way he plays and gallops and chases the ball and behaves at this age.
Hold on!
What are some of your general thoughts on protection dogs?
One of the fallacies that most people tend to have about protection dogs is that if the dog is aggressive, they have this concept of what we would call a junkyard dog. The dog is just vicious and unpredictable. Many of the protection breeds, when properly raised, trained, and socialized, make fantastic family companions. You can take them to the parks, to the schoolyards. They're great with their family, great with the kids, but if a stranger goes to walk into your house at the wrong time when you're sleeping, the dog, without any hesitation, should come to the aid of guarding the family.
Hi, how you doing? Are your parents home? No? Well, come with me!
Hey, how's it going, buddy? What's happening?
All right, not too much. How about you? Huh?
Who's this?
This is Eros.
He looks like a nice dog.
He's a friendly dog.
He looks like a nice dog.
Yeah! Good boy! Good boy! All right. Good boy! Eros, house! Here! Here! Good boy! Good boy, Eros! Eros, house! Here! Good boy. All right.
What are the prices of purchasing a dog from Pinelli Shepherds?
The general asking price for our puppies is $800. We guarantee working ability and trainability. We also guarantee against any type of genetic problems that may arise as far as hip problems, testicle problems, ears not standing, or anything else that may go wrong with the dog.
I've seen German Shepherd prices much higher than yours.
Some people do charge as much as $1,500 to even $2,500 for the dogs. I tend to think that's a little ridiculous because you can buy a fully trained dog that's already 2-3 years old with the obedience and protection training in him, even breeding quality for us from $2,000 to $3,000.
Step back. Puss!
How do you assist the client in selecting the right dog for them?
But then we also try to put the right puppy in the right home. As we temperament test the litters between the age of, say, 6 weeks and 8 weeks old, we try to put the stronger temperament dogs into homes that do want a stronger protection dog, let's say like a police officer or someone wanting to do shoot some competition. The puppies that we term that have softer temperament, which will still be protective but not as strong, are more suited usually for maybe older families or people with very small children, or situations like that.
What do you require of a buyer who wishes to purchase a dog from you?
The two criteria that we have before we sell a puppy to someone is, one, that they're a homeowner. I don't want to sell a puppy to someone living in an apartment that's going to end up moving to someplace else where they're not going to be able to keep the dog, and now the dog is either abandoned or given away. The second thing, too, that we do require is that for a person to purchase one of our dogs, they do need to use a crate for housebreaking and confinement. A lot of people have the idea that this confinement is cruel or some type of torture to them. The dog was originally a cave or den-dwelling animal, so he's very content to be kept in a crate or a small area when he's sleeping and when there's nobody at home. Our first criteria really is temperament. What I mean by that is that the dogs show friendly, forward temperament with strangers and particularly with the family. The dog should only show aggressive behavior when he is threatened or in unusual circumstances when aggressive behavior is called for. The top of the list, in my opinion, is the German Shepherd. There's a lot of good protection breeds out there, but as a good family companion dog that is great with kids, great with the owners, something you can take to parks, schoolyards, you see it all the time with the police departments. It far exceeds all the other breeds, in my opinion.
Big protection's coming in.
We'd like to thank David Kennick of West Warwick, Rhode Island, along with Mike Baton, decoy helper, as well as decoy Craig Barton for their help in this breed segment.
me!
This is Gunter. He's a 3-year-old giant schnauzer, and we're just kind of evaluating him a little bit today. And this dog has the potential to be a protection dog, a Schutzhund dog, or a ring dog. And I'm not sure which path he's going to take, but this dog displays a lot of the right drives. That's
Good boy. Sit. Sit.
Just hold his collar.
What you got, buddy? What you got, buddy? What you got, buddy? Ready? Good boy.
Can you tell us how you became involved with the giant schnauzer?
My husband and I have had giants for 19 years. We started with a basic family pet and then decided that we wanted to get more involved in training and showing. We've done very limited breeding, but we use only European bloodlines. And most of the dogs right now have some connection to the East German bloodlines that have become available. We've used police and Schutzhund bloodlines. Our own interest is primarily in the obedience and the tracking, although we do some confirmation showing, primarily because we feel a giant schnauzer should look according to the standard, but the most important thing is what the temperament and the intelligence are like, because you have to live with that every day. So we want a really sound individual. What we mostly know about the giant schnauzer is that it comes from the hills of Bavaria. The standard schnauzer was the original breed. It dates all the way back to around 1492. But the farmers wanted a larger breed to work cattle, so they crossed the standard schnauzer with a variety of farm and herding dogs that would do the kind of work that they wanted done. Most probably the Bouvier de Flanders and what was then known as the German Mastiff, which was the original black Great Dane, which gave the giant schnauzer the black color. Around 1920-23, they were first imported to the United States. Very few dogs came over. 10 to 12 were imported by 2 or 3 large kennels, and they came complete with handlers to take care of the dogs. And they were all sorts of colors. There was no predominant color. It wasn't until around 1950 that the black color was consistent, and rarely a salt and pepper. Originally, they were black, brown, gray, blue, fawn, black and tan, black with white markings. But now any other color than black or salt and pepper is not allowed and should not be bred.
Here. Push. Okay. Good boy.
The basic use, of course, of the giant was as a herding dog. But by the time the railroads took over around 1900, they became guards for the stockyards and the butchers and the breweries. And then, of course, they were used as police and army dogs, especially through both world wars. And in fact, in 1923, in 1935, a dog named Peter won all 4 gold medals in the canine Olympics. Right now in the United States, there are only about 1,200 registrations a year. They're not a very well-known breed here, although there are some police departments across the country that are using them. They're just not as common as they are in Europe. They're primarily a police dog and a family pet. The Giant is a very smart breed. They want to please you, so they learn very quickly. They do best if you use positive, motivational type techniques. They can be a little bit stubborn because they can get a little bit bored. So you have to stay ahead of them in your training and keep teaching them new things. But they can learn anything that you know how to teach them to do. They're doing very well in police work. They're used in search and rescue. There are a number of police departments around the United States that have found them very positive. They're getting more and more popular in the Schutzhund sport. There are a few people who are doing the French ring sport with them. And the agility and the strength come through very well in those sports because they're a very athletic and energetic breed. Both males and females can be very territorial. They're very protective of their family. They're very loyal. They can be a little aloof with strangers. And because of their size and their strength and the strong prey drive that they have, you have to keep an eye on them, especially where children are playing.
A correct coat is a wiry terrier type coat with a soft woolly undercoat. It needs to be hand stripped to keep it in best condition. It may have a slight wave or a little bit of curl to it. It does not have to lay flat against the body like say a black lab or something like that, but it is an all-weather, very easy to maintain coat. There's not usually a lot of leg hair. They are often very wiry as well. And for ease of maintenance, police departments and guard dog services usually just shave the dog down so that they don't have to even bother with the hand stripping and deal with any of the shedding problems. Naturally, the Giant must have profuse beard and eyebrows, which is the hallmark of the breed and where the word Schnauzer came from, which is the German word for muzzle or snout and refers basically to the whiskers.
Mike, how long have you been working with this dog?
Just about a week. Really just shows a lot of good instinct though. Comes out hard defensively. Then when you run, he's
What's this dog's particular background, do you know?
His mother is West German import and his father was an East German import. Heavy Schutzhund background, all Schutzhund titles all the way back. And the father eventually became a police dog in New Jersey. And he's just a well-bred dog. Now, that just goes to show you, the sport breeding, like ring sport or Schutzhund breeding, can produce good dogs that have potential to become good protection dogs or police dogs with the right training.
Luckily, the Giant doesn't have very many health problems. They've never been a popular breed, so they've never been overbred by people who are not careful about their breeding. The number one problem, of course, is hip dysplasia, which many of the large breeds have a problem with. So that's something that you have to check into when you look at pedigrees and the parents of a particular puppy. A well-bred, well-raised Giant puppy, the prices will start at around $700 to $1,000 usually. When we consider a dog for breeding, we look at the pedigrees, the parents, and the working titles, the temperament and the character of the parents, as well as at the conformation. Because even though a dog should be good to look at, you have to live with the intelligence and the temperament every day. So we look at the temperament test scores, the obedience titles the dogs may have. We do extensive temperament testing of all the adults and all the puppies. We place the puppies based on their needs and what the prospective owner is looking for. A new owner needs to be aware of the intelligence and the strength of a breed this size and be able to make that kind of commitment in order to raise and train it properly, and realize that they are going to have a dog for 10 to 12 years or more, so they have to be prepared to make that lifetime commitment to their puppy. The Giant is an excellent family protector because they're very loyal and they're very territorial. They will protect your house or your car. In most cases, they don't need attack training because they are forceful enough with their barking and their own natural suspicion that there aren't too many people who are going to argue with one when they see you have one on your property. But they're doing very, very well in the sport of Schutzhund. A number of dogs are placing very high in national trials. The police departments are starting to use them more. In fact, one Giant Schnauzer was shot in the line of duty and still caught the guy. And as soon as he recuperated, he went back to work. Several of them have been used in earthquake searches for search and rescue. Early one Sunday morning, they heard noises in the woods next to the house and came across three fellows who were stripping a car. And they ran off into the bushes while my husband went home to call the police, and the fellows wouldn't come out of the bushes, so he asked the officers if he should send the dog. And that's all they had to hear. They came out with their hands up, and this dog wasn't even protection trained, but just by barking and looking intent, the fellows figured it was a safe bet to give up. No. And he got a citizen citation from the town for that.
Good boy.
Pretty much all I can say about him. Hold on to me.
Good boy.
Good.
Call it a mutt, mongrel, crossbreeds apply here as well. Thousands are destroyed each day across the United States. Many are destroyed for the very factors we looking for a protection dog would consider very positive. These dogs deserve a second chance. So if your heart is big enough, or maybe your pocketbooks aren't deep enough, don't discount a mutt. Georgia Salva of the United States Canine Academy will be showing us a female shepherd mix left on the doorsteps of their canine academy. This dog was then adopted by master trainer Richard Connors.
Okay, what we're going to do for you now is give you a demonstration to show you the importance and what can be accomplished with correct training and proper raising. This animal that you're going to see work now was actually abandoned. We're figuring somewhere around at 8 to 10 months of age. She was left here. I think somebody thought that we were animal control. Well, I don't know the circumstances fully, but at any rate, Ricky has had the animal with him ever since. He's had her about a year and a half, and if you watch the animal work, you'll understand just what the right environment and the right training can do.
Get him!
Good girl. What's the speed?
Now, stay.
All right.
Stay.
No, it's moving just a little bit. How much you can hit.
Ready? Now, win. Get him! Three. No! Out! Down. Get him! Three. No! Out!
Rick, and how old is this dog again?
Well, a year and a half.
And how long have you been training with him, roughly?
1 year.
You want to do one more?
Ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, Rob.
For information on adoption, contact your local animal shelter or Humane Society.
Okay. Out! Joe, everything that's associated with protection dogs.
Does this happen often?
You see the... No. Usually. You see the movie, The Holy Grail? It's merely a scratch. Come back, you coward.
Give us a little bit of a brief history of yourself as a breeder and trainer of Neapolitan Mastiffs.
I've been working with the larger breed dogs since the later 70s, approximately 1975 I started. I had originally been training Schutzhund dogs and also dogs for specialty, either with seeing eye or certain applications for search and rescue. After that point, I left the dogs that I originally started using, which were the Giant Schnauzer, German Shepherd, and Rottweiler, and upon introduction to the Neos, started using those because of their larger size, their ease of training, and I've been continuing to use them now for approximately 15 years and had no problems with them with my training programs, and I found them to be very adaptable for my uses.
Hi, my name is Liz Gentry and my husband Mike Gentry. We own a Neapolitan Mastiff. This is Bonnie. She's a year old. We live in Norwalk, Connecticut, and she's a great dog.
Boss, buddy, boss! Good girl! Boss! Good girl, boss! Good girl! Boss! Good girl! Good girl! Boss! Good girl! Ow! Good girl!
The firmest information leads you to believe that they came from an area called Azria, which is in the Arabian area
between, say, the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. They were used at that time as depicted by a stone relief in the British Museum of Natural History, approximately 2500 BC. Neapolitan Mastiff type dogs, being of short hair, strong and muscular, were used to hunt lions. And then from that point, they were taken through different leaders and different conquerors to be used in battle, and they spread all across the Mediterranean and European areas.
What type of environment does the breed need?
The dogs should have a reasonable amount of exercise per day. If a yard can't be used, then at least I recommend a 2-mile walk in the morning and at night so the dog can release excess energy, to move his joints properly, and to keep him roundly socialized. Socially, the dog should be, from the time of receiving it from the breeder, it should be on a strict regime of socialization, meeting children, people of different races, people of different sizes, loud people, quiet people. It should be brought around cars. It should have no inhibitions about the world around it, which could possibly make it nervous or cause other psychological problems, which later on would come out if these early problems were not solved by socialization.
How does the breed adjust to different influences in his life, such as children, strangers, other dogs?
The main thing is that at a young age, the dogs are very impressionable, so that you want to make sure that they have no hang-ups or any type of weird, uncomfortable feelings about their surroundings, which could make them either aggressive or shy. Both, both different temperaments you don't really want. You want a balance there. You want a dog that is suspicious of strangers, but if it's told properly to act, that it should be accepting of them, and not go after them and just bite them just for the sheer fact of biting them because it does not understand that that isn't what you want. So, I stress early socialization with these dogs around people and other animals so that they don't have any hang-ups when they get older, because it just hinders the future training I would like to do with the animals.
Good girl, Bonnie. Good girl, Bonnie. Get her off me. Good girl. Fox. Good girl. Fox. Good girl. Fox, Bonnie. Good girl.
To be concerned about mange and hip dysplasia. Certain other disorders I've noticed in certain bloodlines that I've seen new into the United States have been sudden death while they are working. Later on, it was discovered they had, defective hearts, which are, it's a birth defect. Some of them seem to be weak-hipped and are okay in a standing position, or they are okay in a normal format of walking. But if these dogs are worked, which means they are ran at a minimum pace or had to perform a function that I would consider part of a working dog, they don't actually have the muscular structure in the back to do the work. Some I have found cannot run at all for any distance. This should be an important factor in buying one of these dogs, that you are able to see the parents, that you examine them, that they appear to be hip healthy, and that the breeder has other dogs that are from these parents or other dogs that he has worked with, that he can show you that what he is doing is producing healthy dogs, and that his goal is to make sure they do not end up put to sleep because of lame hip problems. Since a dog that is lame and a dog that has bad hips is useless and then causes nothing but grief for the family that you sell it to.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the trainability of the Neapolitan Mastiff?
Trainability seems to be very good. They seem to be very willing to learn. They have a lot of drive. They like working, and they like doing, you know, what you're showing them. Usually you get very, very little resistance and correction, and they usually never show tendencies of not wanting to work or obstinance towards the trainer, which are characteristics in other breeds that I don't care for. They always are willing to do what you wish, and they always seem like they want to please. Their adaptability to different situations is excellent, and they work well in all different situations as long as they were trained properly for that, and they don't have any hang-ups about it.
Was there a particular event that happened with one of your dogs where it actually had to come to the defense of a particular person?
Yes, we had an incident where a woman was on her property working with the plants and things like that in her yard, and an individual came over a stone wall approximately 8 feet tall, started running towards the woman. The woman yelled. The dog came out from under the tree and hit the assailant in midair while he had knocked my client down. The man pulled out a 4-inch buck knife. The dog was stabbed in the side and then responded by breaking the man's elbow and leaving him with about 90 stitches in one arm, and then proceeded to attack him as the man continued to fight back. My customer called the police, running in the house while the dog was fighting to protect her, receiving between 14 and 20 stitches to his body and deep punctures and gashes to the chest and neck area. When the police had arrived, the dog had the assailant down. He later on had to be treated at a hospital where he received approximately 250 stitches and had to have 2 fingers sewn back on his right hand from the dog fighting him. It was later found that this person was out only 4 months from an aggravated assault and armed robbery charge previously, and that, you know, he would have killed or severely injured my client if the dog was not there. He was not there to mess around, and neither was the dog. So the dog, did what it had to, and the person was severely attacked. Usually, just the sight of the Neapolitan Mastiff deters any criminals. However, sometimes the deterrent does not work, and these people feel that they can hold their own with a 150-pound guard dog, and they're very mistaken. And usually they find that the dogs are overwhelming, and that when they're hit by these dogs running at them full speed, it's all they can do to stay on their feet and to protect themselves.
Did the dog survive this incident, or?
The dog was injured severely. He recuperated for about 2 to 3 months, and still was, working at the last time I had contacted the person. about 2 years ago. He was still patrolling and things like that, and he's almost 6 now. So the wounds were not fatal. Well, what I like to do is I like to sell dogs to people as pets. I usually start at about $1,000, and that includes free consultation by me personally for the life of the dog, which would mean that as long as you own the dog, that you would call me if you had any problems, and I would try to help you over the phone and offer you as much time as necessary to fix your problem. I also go to the house and I do training at the house. This would obviously be extra, but with the cost of the dog, you get free consultation, which is all most of my customers need, and that will teach them the proper way to train their dog. Dogs that are of a larger size go for more money because size is preferred in the Mastiff breeds. Dogs that will hit 170, 180 pounds possibly. You can tell this sometimes from an early age, but by 4 or 5 months, if you raise a dog and you feel he's going to be one of these larger monsters, you can get upwards of $2,000 plus for one. That's what I sell them for. Some of them are different colors. For instance, there's a tan color, and there's also mahogany, which is like a reddish rust color, and then there is a black color of the Neapolitan Mastiff. These are usually, I sell the black dogs for usually about the same price as the blues, about $1,000. The brown and the mahogany dogs usually start at between $1,500 to $2,000, and they go up from that depending on the size or if they are the pick dog, since they are very rare and they are definitely not as common as the blue or the black dogs.
Good girl, Bonnie. Good girl, Bonnie.
I would count on my dogs, and I would trust them to protect my family. And even if I have other people over and I have their kids over sometimes, I can bring a dog in and we can go out with the adults, and I know that no one's going to come in my house with these children.
Get him, Sean. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Sean. Good boy. 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 Good boy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself as a breeder of the Presa Canario.
Yeah, for the past 3 years, I have been involved in the Presa di Pero Canario, canary dogs known for short in the United States. I am not a big-time professional breeder in the sense that I only produce 1 litter per year, and I don't have a puppy mill. I produce 1 litter, and I breed quality dogs. I do not breed quantity dogs. The Presa Canario was brought to this country about 5 years ago, and I got into it because I wanted my Rottweiler, which I had for 11 years, died, and I wanted to get a very rare, imposing looking dog, which is the Presa Canario. I mean, this dog is more imposing in person than in pictures. Presa Canario, Pero di Presa Canario, or canary dog, comes from the Canary Islands. It is of Spanish origin. The islands were actually named after the large dogs found on the islands. Can equal dog. It is a purebred dog recently introduced to the United States about 5 years ago. So they are very rare in the United States. There is actually about 50 known dogs, original Presa dogs in the United States. Originally, the dogs were produced from a crossing of Mastiffs and Bulldogs and the dogs native to the island, one being the Bardino Majero. It is of a Hispanic origin. These dogs were originally bred for fighting, which is now outlawed, and this attributes to the fiercelessness as a guardian. The body size is about 100 pounds. As a guardian breed, it is most effective for its man-stopping ability. It is incredibly powerful and fearless. It is known for its great devotion to its human family and is known to accept children in the home. This is a dog that will stay at its master's side at all times and is never known to stray. The Canary dog is a gentle and affectionate dog that displays great respect for its human family. It serves very well as a guard dog and is generally quite ferocious towards strangers. It is normally very aggressive towards other dogs. This aggressiveness displays its fighting ancestry. Its back is deep and low. The physical description is that of a powerful dog with a very large head. The head is as powerful as long as it is wide. The stop is very pronounced. Mask and nose are generally black. The ears are high set, medium in size, and they are generally cropped. Neck broad, powerful and truncated. Some loose skin on the underside is typical. The chest, between front legs, the chest is wide, low and deep. The tail, high set, thick at the root and tapers to a point. Length reaches the dog's heart. Legs well muscled and strong, heavy boned. The dog is generally cat-footed. The toes are not splayed. The coat is usually short and fairly rough. They come in uniform colors such as fawn and various colors of brindles.
What type of environment does the breed need?
Although the Perro de Presa Canary is a large dog, it requires moderate space. The most ideal environment for the Perro de Presa is a family environment within a home. It loves children and it loves people. It likes to be with people.
What type of care and maintenance does the breed need related to grooming, exercise, etc.?
The Perro de Presa is an active dog. It's not a hyper dog. It requires a moderate amount of exercise. I wouldn't recommend having it in a studio apartment and so on, but it does need moderate exercise daily. Now, it's very easy to maintain because it has a very short coat and it doesn't have an undercoat and it doesn't shed like most of the other dogs.
How does the breed adjust to different influences in his life, such as children, strangers, other dogs?
One thing I notice about the Perro de Presa, even at any age, it adjusts very easily. I've sold dogs that are 12 months old, and within a week they've adjusted so much, and that people call me back and saying that they can't believe the quick adjustment these dogs have accomplished within a very short time. They like to be around a family and children, and they do very well in a family environment.
How do they do around other dogs?
It's generally aggressive towards other animals, and I generally wouldn't keep two Perro de Presa together. You're only asking for trouble. If you're around, you can have them play and so on, but generally I wouldn't leave them together and go to work or something like that, because they will fight. They're very aggressive by nature.
How does the dog react to strangers, basically?
It's a very calm dog. Even though it's an aggressive dog, it's not a dog that would attack without thinking. It thinks and it can sense when there is something is not right. And it will not hesitate to attack. It doesn't adjust to strangers very easily. It can be socialized. You can introduce it slowly, But it's not just going to take to a stranger just like that.
Some of the inherent health problems of the breed.
The Paradepressa Canario doesn't really have any inherent problems as far as internal or external. They have a naturally nice coat. I mean, they don't have any skin problems. They don't have any internal problems such as cancer and so on, which most of the dogs suffer from. They don't have any respiratory problems, and they do well in both a hot environment and a very cold environment. They can adjust very quickly to the different extremes. They don't have, the only inherent problem that might crop up on any dog over 100 pounds is you have to look for hip dysplasia, and they generally don't have that within the lines. It's at a very low percentage rate.
What are some of the differences between the male and female breeds besides the obvious?
The difference is not that much in the Paradepressa because the females grow almost as big as the males. The only difference that I've noticed is the head, which is generally, most dogs, the males have a larger head than the females. The females are more, it's a calmer dog, it's a more controllable dog. Because the males, for some reason, they're just more aggressive. And the females tend to be easier to train.
Okay, that brings us to our next question, which is the trainability of the dog.
Yeah.
Is it easy, difficult? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have had experience with Rottweilers, German Shepherd, and Dobermans and other dogs. And personally, it's not a biased part on my side, but I personally feel that the Paradepressa is one of the most intelligent dogs out on the market. My term I'll use it's trainer friendly. This dog does well in obedience, and it does well in shows. It's very easy to train, and it's not very high. It's not a hyper dog. The Paradepressa is known for the gripping dog, and it just didn't get that name just from a default. It does have a very strong jaw, and when it attacks and so on, it does hold, and it tends to rip. It tears the flesh apart and so on. The dog is known for, as far as Carl Semenek in his book, for holding the wheels of moving cars and stopping it at a second. And generally dogs were killed after that.
Just give me some of your general thoughts on this dog as a protection dog.
A protection dog should have three inherent abilities. One is agility, two, fearlessness, and three, intelligence. And the Paradepressa possesses all three. It's a very bold, aggressive dog. It's very quick by nature, and it's very easy to train and very smart.
What are some of the prices of your breeds?
The Paradepressa, generally, you would not find the Paradepressa for under $1,800 for a male. And the reason for that is these dogs are very rare within the United States and in the world. In the United States, there's only known about 50 known true Pressa Canarios. Worldwide, there's only about 500. I wouldn't predict that the price is going to be coming down within the next 5 years. They're always going to be over $1,000 because they're very rare dogs. In fact, they're in the process of now becoming FIC registered. They're that rare.
Okay, as far as your prices go, do you have any established prices per se, or do you not? Or?
Yeah, I generally charge, for my males, I charge $1,800 for my males, and that's a fixed price. And I give you a guarantee for a year and so on hips, and 15-day guarantee. And I will follow up on my dog wherever it goes, and so I call the new owners to find within a year to see how the dogs are doing. My females I sell between 15 and 18, and the reason for that, within the Paradepressa, they generally have more females in the litter than males. Now you would have sometimes like a litter of 10, you'll have only 4 males and 6 females.
What are some of your buyer requirements? What do you require of a buyer that wishes to purchase a dog from you?
I require that any buyer who wants to buy a Paradepressa do a lot of research first. My main concern is this is a big imposing dog, and any buyer should be sure of themselves and be sure of a big aggressive dog before taking it into their home. It is not a stubborn dog. It's very easy to train, but it can be very lethal if it's not handled right. Yeah, I would like to say that I am not a puppy mill and would never be a puppy mill. I only breed 1 litter per year. And I breed quality versus quantity. I mean, sometimes people call me and say they can get a Prairie Depressor for $500. And I tell them, go ahead and get that dog. Because I know in the market there's a lot of band dogs being produced out there and people are selling them as a Prairie Depressor. Now, the reason you can tell, I mean, the difference is when that dog is bred, you can see the difference that comes through. A true Prairie Depressor would always produce a Prairie Depressor, not a band dog in return.
Get him, get him, Sugar. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, Sugar. Good boy, 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 good boy.
We'd like to thank Howard Chirac of Brooklyn, New York, for his help in this breed segment. This kennel club comes periodically to the sprawling estate of Hyder and Erica Bakay to talk and train their Rottweilers. Pat Murray of New Jersey is their guest trainer.
Oh boy, that's a good boy. Just stand still.
My name is Hyder Bakay, and my wife and I have been into dogs for about 25 years. Initially with German Shepherds, and in the last 13, 14 years with Rottweilers.
The Rottweiler descended from powerful dogs that drove and guarded the cattle that accompanied the Roman army in its march across Europe. Some of these dogs were left behind to guard outposts along the route. One such point was in the area of Wattenberg, Germany. Here the Mastiff-type dogs were bred with local herding dogs to create a strong, trustworthy breed that came to be known as the butcher's dog of Rottweil. Because the dog guarded the butcher's money when the pair was en route to the cattle sales and drove the livestock home on the return trip.
It is estimated that around 1937, the first registered Rottweiler arrived to the States, but there were rumors that there was the Rottweiler earlier in the 1920s, and I've had some photographs of it, but they don't know who it was, and not enough information to identify it. But the breed really didn't catch on until I would say the 70s in a big way, late 70s actually. But by the 1960s, you had about a half a dozen breeders in this country who I would call reputable breeders, who actually, I would say, are responsible for the initial wave of Rottweilers in this country.
Yes.
The male dogs are supposed to supposed to be anywhere between 24 and 27 inches tall with definite masculine appearance, good top lines, dark eyes, dark mouth pigmentation, good rust color, even though the AKC accepts tan, black and tan. Females go anywhere from 22 to 25 inches. Weight, you know, in both male and female is supposed to be proportionate. Body length, body height is supposed to be proportionate, so you have a nice balance, balanced looking dog, neither too long nor too tall. It's acceptable to put up a larger dog in AKC as long as, again, the balance is there, the harmony is there. Again, neither too long nor too tall, too leggy, too heavy in body. A bone supposed to fit the body type. Good bone, they don't like in Rottweilers, they prefer a medium to a heavy bone dog as opposed to a Doberman who's, you know, very light boned. Good top lines, good stops, again, good ear sets. That's mainly what's called for in the standard, in the anatomy of the Rottweiler.
Okay. Tell us about what type of environment the breed needs.
Well, we've lived in the city with our dogs, and we found that they adjusted very well to our city life when we both worked and had to leave the dogs at home all day long. They were fine with us as long as we came home and spent time running around with them, playing with them. They do require, you know, some of that. They're not total house dogs where you can just leave them, ignore them like a bloodhound perhaps, who's happy to just lie around all day, all night. They do require some exercise, but they're content to be at home as long as they know what their routine is going to be. That does include some amount of exercise. But we've had the opportunity to move out to New Jersey with them in the last 7 or 8 years, and they excel outside. They just love being outdoors, running around. They're happier when they're, you know, constantly out doing stuff, even if it's just to watch other things happening around them. When they're in the house, they're basically deadheads. And they can make good house dogs, good apartment dogs, but they do need some form of exercise. The more, the better for them.
Gonna take a run? No, the last one will be a run.
This one.
Good boy! Down! He's coming like a shepherd now.
What type of care and maintenance does the breed need related to grooming, exercise, etc.?
Well, as far as grooming, the Rottweiler is probably one of the least, one of the dogs that needs least grooming of any dogs that I know. Their coats are fairly short, easily kept clean. They have very little as far as allergy type problems or hair type problems, and very rarely do you see one that really needs any additional medicinal care. And as far as grooming, before we take them to a show, we usually give them a bath the day before that and just rinse them out, and they're fine. There's no excessive grooming necessary. The Rottweiler is actually a fairly well-rounded dog in terms of accepting environment. I would tend to guess that in very hot tropical climates, they do take a little more of a beating, and their lifespan is a little shorter. So I would guess that that's the least favorable. And of course, in very, very northern climates, if it's well into the sub-zeros, they probably don't take as well there either. So anything in between, they do rather well. They're very adaptable.
What are some of the inherent health problems of the Rottweiler?
Hip dysplasia, of course, is one of the major problems. The dog is a very large dog, and as with most large dogs, you have to watch the inherent breeding of a Rottweiler, because we do have a problem with hip dysplasia. Also, he's been overbred to such an extent and in such a way that the quality control vis-a-vis the OFA, which is the organization which classifies or registers dogs with good hips could be better controlled by placing some kind of identification, either a microchip or a tattoo, and verifying that the dog you're x-raying is actually the dog that is being tested. And because we don't have that, in the last 20 years that I know, the percentages of OFA versus the percentages of dogs being bred has not dropped any. And one is to think that either it isn't genetic or there's a whole lot of cheating, and it could be a combination of the two, and that's what I suspect.
If you open up any newspaper today in any large city in America, you'll see that there's a number of Rottweilers for sale. The prices on some of these dogs is very low. Is there any problem with purchasing a Rottweiler like this?
Well, it's a perfect example of cheap being expensive. $100 to $300, $400, $500 Rottweiler is a dog that's been bred with no before thought. There's been no studying as to genetics. There's been no care as to the background of its sire or dam. There's very little, if any, care in not only the initial thought of who you put together, but also once the puppy is whelped in the stability of their early lives. It is basically an exercise of producing puppies for sale, and cutting costs would be breeding to either the dog next door or to an inferior dog, and having puppies in the backyard and giving no work to them whatsoever. That's the only way to maintain those type of prices.
My name is Vincent Smith, and I've been a Rottweiler enthusiast, and I guess I would like to call myself a purist, for about 7 years. And along with that came Bandit. I started when I was actually living in Germany, where the breed is from, about in 1989 when I was in the Air Force. Since I came from, I guess, the old school by starting in Germany with Bandit von Excalibur, which is Schützen 3, I came up through a different, I guess, a mode. And that mode is where he had to get a breed test, and he had to have a hip test, and he was actually registered through people from Germany who actually came out and inspected his litter to make sure the quality was there. Whereas with the AKC, you don't have that. And since I've been in America, I don't believe in the AKC. I've never shown him in the AKC. I never will show him. And I said the reason I mentioned that I'm a purist, I'm one of those who has a stud dog who's done very well in America, but I won't breed him to just any bitch who does have AKC registration papers, because all that means is she's a Rottweiler. But just being a Rottweiler isn't enough to actually maintain the breed, and that's something that I'm really interested in. And what they have now is a club called the ARV, which is the American Rottweiler Verein, and they also have the United States Rottweiler Club. And what they do is they now have the same standards by which they go by in Germany, and that's to have a breed test. And this breed test is for the males and for the females. And what this does is make sure the male has a stable temperament, make sure the female has a stable temperament, make sure they fall within the height requirements, pigmentation of the mouth, pigmentation of the color. So overall, what it does is maintains the breed that we're very involved with.
The AKC is basically a registration organization. Whatever its initial charter might have been, right now, its only purpose seems to be to make money. It has absolutely no program for maintaining the quality of any of its breeds. As a matter of fact, whenever a breed gains in popularity, because of the whole AKC organizational program, being registry, being showing, obedience, and what have you. What it has done is it does not pursue excellence. It does not pursue quality. It pursues quantity, and it not only does not discourage, but in some ways you might say they encourage puppy mills, pet factories.
My name's Pat Murray. I've been involved in dog training for the past 10 years, for the past 5 years professionally. I'm involved with several different breeds of dogs, Rottweilers, Belgian Malinois, Amstaffs, as well as German Shepherds.
Pat, can you tell us a little bit about the trainability of the Rottweiler and some of its training characteristics?
Dog, as an overall view, adjusts well basically to all situations. It's a well-balanced dog, accepts training very easily. It's a little bit more on the stubborn side in comparison to some of the other working breeds, but is definitely an excellent candidate for work.
Okay, I've heard some people say Rottweilers don't take kindly to training to the point where they become a spiteful dog if things don't go quite the way that they think it should be going.
It depends on the direction of your training program. The training program for a dog such as a Rottweiler, it definitely has to be a non-confrontational one due to the fact that a Rottweiler genetically is a little bit more on the defensive side. It's very strong in temperament, and they don't take kindly to correction, so it has to be very careful in the training is that the handler doesn't become the source of conflict to the dog. This is why a lot of times in the paper you see people have problems with Rottweilers and the dog turns on handler and so on and so forth. It's not that it's a bad dog, it's just a dog that's very correct, has a lot of temperament, and doesn't take kindly to the training program which he's been entered into. The training program that a Rottweiler responds best to is one that's conducive where the handler is the outlet of conflict instead of the source of the conflict.
Tell us about any experiences with you and your Rottweilers that you have.
Sure. I mean, I have my own dog, which actually was offered to be purchased for a large sum of cash. He wasn't sold. He's still with me. We were training for an endurance test in AD where the dog's required to run 12.5 miles and be willing to do obedience at the end of that test. As we were preparing for that test, I was training up in New York City. We were on a cross-country track, and it was a real dark night, and two guys came out of nowhere, and at gunpoint, the dog came to my aid and took care of the situation, and we were out of there without any further ado. So as far as that, the Rottweiler is always ready, willing, and able to serve.
What are some of the different methods that are used for training personal protection dogs?
Well, basically there are different ways to train dogs. You have the old school, which basically they teach the dog reactive aggression, where the dog responds to he's responding to how the man's interacting with him. In other words, he's responding defensively because he doesn't want the man to inflict any pain or so on and so forth to him. That's really not the ideal way to train a personal protection dog. You want to teach a personal protection dog active aggression, where the dog is confident, he works confidently, he understands his job, he knows when it's appropriate and not appropriate to respond that way.
We feel that a fair price for a Rottweiler is anywhere from about $800 to $1,500. That's fair market value. Anything beyond that is just greed. It's a pocketbook consideration and really nothing more. And people are charging these prices in pet shops. And again, puppy mill price, for dogs that are puppy mill animals. And And I think that's another reason why some breeders are charging the high prices that they're charging. But again, without guarantees, it's just not fair to the buyer. Good boy!
That's right.
Nice. Nice.
Now let's go. Good boy. Yes. This is a wrecking machine here. House! House! Don't correct him, just command him. He knows the word.
Unfortunately, what people have become enamored with is not the dog itself, but is what the dog has projected. And basically what the dog has projected is the myth of the dog is not the dog. Pictures like films like The Omen and some other French films have created an image of the Rottweiler that is really not accurate. He's not a devil dog. He's not a nasty dog. And basically, it takes a nasty person to create a nasty dog. And that goes not only for the Rottweiler, but for all the breeds. And because of this projected image, we're getting people that are looking for Rottweilers who not only shouldn't have Rottweilers, in my opinion, they shouldn't have any dogs. Unfortunately, if the AKC worked closer with the breeders rather than the handlers and the judges, I think that all breeds would be better off for it. And I think we, as a country, would have dogs that are not the laughingstock of the rest of the world. And but it's very, very difficult to upset a political system that has worked very well, where there's people that are making money at this and whose egos are being fed.
Hold it up high. Hold it up high. Can't get no higher than that, Frank.
That's a multiple view.
Yes. Good boy. Oh. Oh. Run him in a circle. Calm him down.
We'd like to thank trainer Pat Murray, Frank Deline, Vince Smith, and Hyder and Erica Bakay for their help in this breed segment.
Just stand still. Yes.
We'd like to wish trainer Pat Murray success and happiness at his new training and working dog breeding facility located in Andrews, North Carolina. I'm Robert Bombase, and we thank you for watching this Videotel production.